Hello everybody, this is the Russian Fazbear, and today is going to be another Let's Talk video. So, it's early September, classes are starting back up again, so today's Let's Talk topic is going to be school. Because at this point, most of us have probably gone back to school or will soon be going back. Whether you're in grade school, middle school, high school, university, we all gotta go back. So me personally, I'm in high school, and I, got all my textbooks, and I'm starting to get assignments and everything. Right back here I have my biology book and my geometry book. Hauling those two home in my backpack wasn't very fun. So, with school, there's people, there's teachers, there's learning, and the thing about school is that sometimes it can feel a bit more memorized oriented rather than, say, learning oriented, which I can definitely agree with, because you do have to memorize a lot in school, like memorizing vocabulary for a foreign language, or memorizing elements on the periodic table for science, or memorizing formulas for algebra class, or whatever it may be. Of course, memorizing can help you learn stuff, but it's definitely not the ideal strategy. And while school does have a lot of memorizing, it does also have a lot of learning. So, note-taking is also a big part of school. You just write down in your notebook, or sometimes the teacher will give you like a packet with like blanks to fill in as they talk about the subject, which most of my teachers this year have been doing instead of me just writing it down in a notebook. So, and then there's those kids who can't see well, and they're like in the way back of the class and they can't see anything. And then there's the kids in the front of the class and they can see everything perfectly fine. It's just kind of annoying how sometimes you're in the back of the class and you can't see anything, and there's those obnoxious kids in the back of the class who keep distracting you and won't let you get anything done. And what I mainly wanted to focus for this video was the biggest part of school, probably the teachers. The teachers are a big part of school. About 95 to 90% of the school day is spent with the teachers. Now, the thing about the teachers is some of them are nice, some of them are mean, but in order to be a teacher, you obviously need to be really passionate about this certain subject and really like kids, especially if you're teaching a lower grade as opposed to a higher grade. Like if you're teaching kindergarten, man, you must really like kids. If you're teaching, say, 10th grade, then you might be a bit more just passionate about whatever subject you're teaching rather than liking kids, because high schoolers aren't really kids, they're more of like teenagers, older kids. So, the thing about teachers is that some of them, there's just all different kinds. They come in all different kinds. There's things that they do that are nice, and there's things that they do are annoying. Things that they do are nice is throw you a bone by not giving you any homework on the weekends. That's always a nice treat from a teacher. Something annoying they do is when they might hold you over the bell or eat food in class when the students explicitly aren't allowed to, or something like that. Like in 6th grade, I had a math class 8th period. My 8th period teacher, she would always hold us over the bell, like every day. And the kids who took the buses, the buses leave only like 5 minutes after the bell rings, so you gotta run to your locker, grab all your crap, and just run down to the bus area as fast as you can. I remember every day she would say that classic teacher line, "I dismiss class, not the bell," because I had this teacher the last period of the day, 8th period. So, yeah, so the bell would ring and she would be like, "Don't go anywhere, I dismiss class, not the bell. You don't go anywhere until I say so." and it annoyed us all to no end. But something I do question about that, if teachers believe they have the authority to dismiss us over the bell, then why is it when they finish their lesson early, they don't dismiss us until the bell rings? So it's either you get out on time or late. You don't get out early. It's like I dismiss class, not the bell, but that only works in the bad side of things and not the good side of things. Like if class is over at 1:20 and that's when the bell rings and the teacher has to go run their lesson for another 3 minutes, they'll obviously hold you until 1:23. But if they finish their lesson 3 minutes early, obviously they're not going to let you go 3 minutes early. Instead, you're just going to have to sit around in class until the bell rings. It's kind of weird how that works. I mean, obviously teachers do get in trouble if they dismiss you too early or too late, but still, it's kind of weird how that works. So another thing about classes is that sometimes they can be extremely far apart. At my school, we only have 4 minutes in between classes. I think most schools have about 5. Probably 5 is the very most, and probably the standard. Mine only has 4. So some of my classes, because I go to a very big school, it's 2 floors, probably about 20,000 square feet. That's just a rough estimate, though. So sometimes I'm leaving the class as fast as I can and then getting to my next class just before the bell rings. Of course, you sometimes have to make pit stops to get a drink of water, go to the bathroom, or maybe even use your locker. At my high school, the kids actually rarely use their lockers. Most people just carry everything around in their backpack, which, if you have a heavy load, obviously can be very annoying and could put stress on your back, but at my school, you get the same locker all 4 years you're there, so obviously, at some point in time, it's going to be pretty far out of your way to go to your locker. I mean, it can come in handy for some things, but other times it's just easier to carry everything around, even if it applies more weight. It is a bit healthier to walk around with weight. It's like an incline on a treadmill. But anyways, back to the thing about classes being far apart. Yeah, sometimes I have to go all the way down a hall, make a left or a right, cut through a courtyard, go up and down some stairs. I mean, I'm typically never late to class because of the long distance. Usually it's because I have to use the bathroom or something, which only makes me about 5 seconds late. But the thing is that another thing regarding when teachers start and end classes is sometimes they start early. Like, this one teacher, I had her for a study hall this one period, and this period ended at 1:45, and then the next period started at 1:48, I think. This was back in middle school, by the way. So we would leave at 1:45, and then her class would be outside, or some of the kids for her next class, which was a science class. And they would come in, and there'd probably be about 2/3, maybe half the class there, and she would just instantly get into the lesson. It'd be probably 1:46 and 30 seconds at that point. So most of the kids probably showed up at that point, but still, she started the lesson a bit too early because she just starts the lesson a little too early. Like, she wants to have the most amount of time she possibly can and kind of overruns it into the transitional period between your class and the previous class and the transitional period between your class and the next class. Or if your class is the last class of the day, then it's just running it out into the time the students need to catch the bus, or just cutting into their free time if they have something to do after school. So at my middle school, we didn't actually use a bell system. We had a bell for homeroom and for 8th period dismissal. The bell would only ring 3 times a day. Once to signal kids to go to homeroom. Second, when homeroom started and the official school day began. And then the third time at the end of 8th period, dismissing us from 8th period, and that would be the end of the school day. Every other period, the beginning of first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, and the end of all those periods would just be a designated time, and there wouldn't be any, like, bell or anything to signify when this started and finished. The teachers would just glance up at the clock. If it was the right time, they'd shut the door and start class. Simple as that. So at high school, we do have a bell for every transition, and most of the time teachers don't start class early in this particular scenario because they listen for the bell. After the bell goes off, that's when they start class. If you show up after the bell, then you're late. Also, so far at the high school, even though I've only been up there for about 2 weeks now, teachers don't really seem to hold us over the bell that much, although that's destined to happen at some point in one of my classes. Another thing I want to mention about teachers real quick is something that has always annoyed me about teachers and throughout my entire middle school career. I haven't seen it in high school yet, and it didn't exist in elementary school because there were no class transitions. Well, there were, but you walked in a line with your classmates and teachers. The thing is, the teachers that, and let me know if you had this in your middle or high school as well, the teachers that stand out in the hallways and yell at kids to get to class. Oh my god, those teachers piss me off so much. Yeah, they stand out in the hallway, yell at kids to get to class, even though it's probably not even time. Like, let's say the class starts at 8 o'clock and it's 7:58, so you still got 2 minutes to get to your class. And my middle school was sort of big, but not all that big, so obviously you could get to a class even on the other side of the school in 2 minutes. It'd probably take about 2 minutes to get to the other side of the school, so they could make it just in time. So they stand out in the middle of the hallway or at a corner somewhere and just, or at their door of their classroom, and just yell at kids to get to class. Kids that are just walking to class. Not kids that are screwing around or standing there. I mean, teachers do sometimes say, hey, stop screwing around and go to class, and I get that, that's fair, but when kids are just walking, maybe talking with their friends, and you just yell at them to get to class, they're probably going to class. What do you want them to run, and then you'll yell at them for running in the halls? Like, what are you, trying to be a hypocrite or something? And I call these teachers hallway Nazis, because they just stand in the hallway and mess everything up. There was this one teacher, I had him for study hall at one point. He was an English teacher, and he would always stand out in the hallway and yell at kids to get to class, like every day pretty much. And I remember when I was in his study hall class, it was really quiet in his study hall, so he could hear like what was going on out in the hallways, so it was in the middle of class. And if he would hear like footsteps or voices from the hallway, he would get up, go outside, and interrogate the kids outside. It was actually kind of funny, but at the same time just really annoying that he just really felt that he needed to keep the hallways completely clear of any people at all. Alright, well, this video is about 14 minutes long at this point. I didn't really say everything I wanted to say, so I'll probably make a part 2 to this video. But for now, that's all. Hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching. The Russian Fazbear, out.